girl, Shauna, who was like, get in here and let's do this together. And I'm like, totally. But we do have Cutter and Miss Sammy in the field. Oh, she's very pleased that we can do this together. Oh, baby girl. So what I want to talk about today is kind of a heavy topic. So here's Nicole from Mindful Connections. And this is all about horse logic, this series, where horses often have such a better understanding of things than we do. And I get this, hold on, I'm just wiggling my thingy here so we're not so up close, so we can both be in the picture. So I get that in my animal communication practice quite a lot, that people are so concerned about when an animal dies, especially if we had to put the call into the vet and actually make it happen if the animal doesn't die on their own. And so I had two really neat cases last week where animals from the other side came in and talked about how we should not feel guilty. So one was actually the animal actually made it through a surgery, but had recovered fairly well the next day, and then, however, died of complications after. And the surgery was one of those surgeries where the owner did it for good reasons, but well, you also could be like, maybe I didn't need to do this. Let's just give you an example. It could be, do we want to take the eye out in a horse, or do we want to keep it in, or do we need to clean our cat's teeth through the vet and go under anesthesia? Which still a lot of people have to do because they don't have other options in the neighborhood. Those are kind of choices where you could go either way. And so in this case, the dog actually passed away. And later on, when the woman was talking to me and said she felt terrible that she made that choice, I said, well, let's check in with the dog, what the dog has to say about it. And the dog was so cool. He went, you can never feel guilty if you do things with good intention. If you do things with bad intentions, then you have all the right to feel terrible. And I was like, what? I'm like, that's amazing. Let me work that through in my mind. And I'm like, that is such a good point, though. If you do things with good intentions, right, meaning that you have the best in mind for the animal, let's just say, right, you feel like, wow, this animal, I think the eye is bothering him a lot. I mean, I had that situation once with a horse, and you think the eye is bothering him. Should we take it out or not? And if you come from the place of, I'm really trying to see it through his eyes, and it seems to be creating him pain, and he's on bute, and that's not good for his belly, and blah, 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 and you have the best intention making that animal's life better, the dog says, then you can never feel guilty because your heart was in the right place. The same if you would get, your cat's teeth cleaned. We all know that dental, especially with cats, dental disease is like a real big challenge for the heart, and it can cause heart attacks and whatnot. So it's kind of a good thing to do. Your intentions were in the right place, so you should never feel guilty. The way the dog actually put it was, guilt creates a pollution, like a filter over your heart, or puts like a little barrier over your heart, which keeps you then from fully staying in connection with that animal after it passed. He said, because now every time you think of him, you go like, I don't know if I did the right thing or not. And that keeps you from wanting to go there and connecting. I mean, when you think about it, how smart that is. And he said, instead, don't feel guilty. It is what it is. That's what animals always say, right? It is what it is. It was done with the right intentions. And if you don't put this little barrier, this little filter, this little pollution of guilt in front of your heart, then we can still communicate. And I'm always here. And then he went on to talk about how he's still available for her to, connect with and support her in some really amazing ways. So, but what a message, right? What a message. And another case was where a horse actually passed away, and let me think now, because now I had two stories there, but where a horse passed away and someone couldn't make it into the barn in time. And so the vet was already there because the horse was in dire straits, and the owner couldn't get there. But she was hoping to, and she was driving and driving, and she was driving down the street, and there came this moment where she's like, ugh. And I don't know, I think she looked at the clock and she was like, I think I'm too late. Now, the funny thing is I didn't know that, so I was telling her, hey, what are you doing, girlfriend? I was telling her, the horse was saying, I knew you were with me all the time, the entire time, even though you weren't physically here. And the horse even explained how the horse had already left the body and was really not quite available to connect anyway. The horse might have known that she was at the barn, but it wasn't going to be a warm and mushy moment because the horse was already leaving the body because the horse was in so much pain. But the horse had told me, like, I knew she was with me the entire time. I knew she was right there. It didn't matter that she wasn't physically there. And the interesting thing is, oh, here comes again, mister. Let me scratch your, can you scratch my butt? There he is. Big old quarters. But the cool thing was that the time she felt something that just shifted in the car, and the time the vet administered the medication were right there. She was with the horse, and the horse confirmed it, and the woman was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I really now don't feel bad because it didn't matter. And that's so often, right? We feel like we have to be in physical proximity, or we feel like that is this here, what I'm doing right now, right? Like petting and touching and being with each other, that matters the most. Of course it matters. Kara once told me, hi, you want me to tell him that? Kara once told me that that's why we're in the physical world, to have these physical connections. It's not just all spiritual or telepathic. However, because animals are so cool, we can be with them physically, but we can also connect on this higher conscious level. That's what's so neat in those situations. If we would just trust that that connection is happening, then we don't even have to worry about, again, feeling guilty. I didn't make it in time and all this stuff. The animals always go like, no, don't feel guilty. Just know we're here. Just know we're with you, maybe, or you're with us while we're passing on. And like the little dog who said, oh, I'm right here. Just don't put a filter in front of your heart so we can still stay connected. And I think that's such a cool lesson for us to sometimes really come out of our little, come out of our little head space and be like, you know what, these animals and us are so connected. Let's trust that, and let's believe that, and let's make sure that we don't, I don't want to put a guilt trip on you, but that we don't dishonor that, because it's like they're already there. So if we just tune in, then we're connected, but we're kind of disregarding them. Oh, Kara likes that. Speak the truth. So we don't want to, what, where are you going? We don't want to dishonor that they are actually inviting us to connect at that level, and that they're already there and we're just the ones not available, right? He's like nudging my hand, going like, what? What are you telling me? That's exactly the truth, isn't it? So just think about that, right? Just honor that spiritual connection that you have with your animal in all these circumstances, and especially when it gets kind of tough because you're losing an animal, because they're always there. That's at least what they tell me. So have a great rest of the day, and I will see you again next week.